And here we are. Welcome to Live Talk. And I got to tell you, I'm telling you, one of the best featured guest speakers on with me tonight, Patrick O'Brien. And he is the regional sales manager for Konect AI. We have an incredible conversation tonight. We are talking about AI in the car business, right? So it's going to be really cool stuff. Now, CEO, perhaps the COO, they're on the road. Maybe they're coming in, maybe they can't, but we'll see. We'll check it out. But before we go ahead and get into our conversation with Patrick, for those that are new to this channel, I'm Becky Chernek, and I provide the very best in finance and insurance training for auto dealers throughout the USA and Canada, as well as independent dealers throughout the USA. And not just F&I. So I say not just F&I, it's about F&I trends, but just not F&I from the time that customer touches down on that dealership website to working with BDC from Business Development Center to working with sales associates, sales strategies to desking those deals, because we know it all starts where? At the hub. So at that desk, and to really create impact that sticks. And then finalizing that transaction in the F&I office with a designated F&I person or even a single point of contact. So the whole idea, guys, is to get that impact, that higher performance. And believe me when I tell you, I do. I founded my company in 2001 and worked with hundreds of dealers throughout the USA. So
I was one of them. As a matter of fact, I was one of them before I became a vendor. So I can speak on not only Becky's track record.
Thank you. Wait, before we get there, Patrick, if you wouldn't mind, I just want to make sure for those that are listening in on YouTube, that if you happen to like what we're talking about, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and share. We're also going live on Facebook, two of my favorite groups, F&I Today with Becky Chernek, as well as F&I on the Edge. And I got to tell you, Patrick will agree. We've got some really talented folks in both those groups that'd be more than happy to share their knowledge with you and help you along your way to a successful career in automotive retail. And again, we are going live on LinkedIn as well as Twitter. Now, Patrick, let's go ahead. Let's get into you. You tell us what you're all about.
Well, Becky, as you know, you and I have known each other quite some time. Like I was saying, I was one of those dealers that actually worked with you in the past when I was an independent general manager at a dealership in Atlanta, Georgia. I didn't even realize that you and I had the connection we had until you walked into my store that day. So I can attest to not only your training, your products, but as well as your nose for compliance. And I think that's something that's missing a lot of times in the trainers today. They want to push this rah, 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 instead of actually settling down, ensuring the process and the compliance is in order. Because at the end of the day, the finance office first job is to protect the dealership. So I always appreciate that. One of the things that you focus on and you're always hyper-focused on is the protection of the dealership. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I mean, and getting into me, you know, as you know, I'm 25 years in this business. I've been doing it since I was 15 years old. I was a legacy kid. I was in retail up until about 6 months ago. The only reason I made the jump was because, you know, I missed out on a lot of opportunities in the space of technology in the automotive industry. Over my career to get out of retail and get out of that daily grind, but maintain my relationships and my love for the business. The first one was CRMs. The second one was actually mass text marketing type software. The third one was digital retailing, which you and I have spoke, hasn't exactly taken off yet, but it's not on the ground floor anywhere. This time, I get the opportunity to get on the ground floor of something that I think is truly groundbreaking. And I really think it's going to help car dealers become more efficient in what they're doing and maximize, which is something I talk about, maximize the time ROI for their team. And that's something that doesn't show up on a balance sheet or a P&L at the end of every month. The ROI that we're actually receiving from our team and how we measure it. So I think artificial intelligence, the fact that it can do a lot of the heavy lifting and it's always right. There's no mistake in the message that's sent. It's the exact message every single time to every single customer the right way. And I think that's going to help the automotive industry just really blossom into this next level of consumers?
Well, I got to tell you, I was, I don't know if you had a chance to check out Fixed Ops Roundtable, Ted Ing's The Wild West. What a great
Yes.
event he had. And a lot of it, he told me, Becky, I'm telling you, watch this. AI is going places, and especially in service.
Yes.
So, helping to make those appointments, obviously, keeping it a much more streamline that process much more, and creating a better relationship and that sort of thing. So talk to us about how that works.
Well, at the end of the day, what
And I
we
think
always
Jarrod is here. So I'm going to try to
good.
pop him into this.
Oh, that is amazing. Guys, let me
I
tell
think
you
he's in his
something.
car, but you can hardly see
We
him.
just got our chief operating officer to join us. He's actually traveling from Naples to Miami for some onboarding training. We had a great NADA show. I love Jarrod bringing on board with this.
So let's see what he looks like. Come on, let's just check it out.
He's in the dark.
He's in the dark.
It is a little
there
dark.
he
I
is.
apologize.
Don't
Jarrod,
you
welcome,
apologize,
man.
Jarrod. It's nice to have you with us tonight, and I've got good old series, and she's on too. So anyway, I'm just kidding. But
So Becky, the question that you had just asked me was, how's that sales to service look, especially because artificial intelligence is a huge thing and a huge buzzword, especially with that. One of the things that we actually just launched at NADA is our sales to service automated process that this man in this little dark square, he's the mastermind behind this, along with our CTO, Paul. And if anybody knows Jarrod's got some extensive experience in how this process works and how to make it successful.
Okay. Hey, Jarrod, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead. For those that may not know exactly who Jarrod is, I think I might know who Jarrod is, but some
Just
of
a
these
little
other
bit.
guys. How did you begin? How did you start? Tell us your background.
So my background started off in Ohio in college in automotive back in 2003. Was very blessed to have probably one of the best college dorm roommates. You always hear about those college dorm roommate horror stories. No, this guy over here got the good one because my roommate's parents own dealerships, so that's how I got the exposure to it. So I've always been the tech guy. I've always been the one to break stuff and figure it out and how to put it back together better than it was the way before. But I started with him and his family stores back in 03, 04. And then I continuously worked my way through to moving into Florida back in 2006. So worked my way up in retail, all the way up to, GSM level finance. I did a little bit of everything. I got bored. Imagine that. Somebody who gets bored.
Right, in the car business.
Yeah, bored in the car business. Like, that could ever happen. And then from there, I went into BDC consulting, which eventually grew into, working with Vin Solutions through the Cox acquisition to help build training and really work with a lot of dealers on training, performance management. Great opportunity there. Learned a ton from it on the tech side that I wasn't exposed to before. And then pretty quickly transitioned into Lexus national accounts, working with the Lexus dealers nationally on digital best practices, reputation management. Great stint there, extensive travel, got to travel the country and meet a whole bunch of different Lexus dealers all over. And then I had an opportunity in 2016, blessed to have 4 daughters, which is the other reason why I'm heading to Miami now. And they're getting a little bit older, and they're missing dad. I felt like I was missing out on a lot, being gone all the time. And there's a local dealer group here between Florida and Ohio, and I came on to run their digital operations with the one and only Brian Kramer, as you know about, which gotta love Brian here. Gotta give him his shout out. Gotta give him his shout out every time I can.
Yes, Brian Kramer.
Yep. So
the anomaly.
Right. So I mean, that's where a lot of this stuff comes from, and it's really enhanced my thoughts and vision on what does this really look like. What does automotive today look like? What do people need? What are we trying to solve for? To the point where we talk about people and still people word it wrong way. It's like, oh, it's sales to service. I'm like, no, it's service to sales. because anybody can figure out sales or service. You spiff your salespeople and they work their pay plan and they make a fly-by-night introduction to a service manager, and then they go to the desk to collect their $50 for the introduction. This is all about how do you acquire smarter through service, through automation. Because Brian and I used this same methodology at Germain, back in 17, 18, to the point where we had started acquiring 100 plus vehicles out of service and selling about 100 vehicles out of service drive too.
Month in and month out.
Month in, month out, yeah. And I was like, talking to Paul, I said, Paul, can we do this? Can we build this? Will this work? Can we try this? Just let me go. Like, let me build it. Let's see what it does so far. And in a very short case study here of 30 days of data, from a store who had no process at all to now having a process, we have pulled from a smaller size store. We've already pulled about 25 vehicles out of the service drive.
Awesome. I mean, that's darn good, right?
And Jarrod, this is a pilot type store, like you said, a small store.
This is extremely small store. This is about 125 car a month store compared to where Brian and I come from selling 500 or 600. So
that's right. So 25 is a lot. It's a big deal. It's a real big deal. So
and this was completely automated, right, Jarrod?
Completely automated, from the reach out to the point where the customer says, yes, I'm interested, to coming into the store. And then it's just the transition of a normal vehicle evaluation and a simple yes or no. Does this work? Yes or no.
So where do you see, okay, so you see obviously the AI really helps to create the, you call it service to sales process, which obviously you've got a good pilot going on here to convince us that, hey, you know what you're talking about. It's always good to know someone that, says something and actually does it. And as proof in the pudding. So even, when it comes to Brian Kramer, when he digitalized the entire workflow from online to,
I'm having flashbacks. Hold on. I'm flashbacks here. Hold on.
Well, I was amazed by that, because let's face it, it wasn't easy, and you all pieced it together and made it happen. You rolled up your sleeves and somebody said, hey, we're going to do this.
Yeah. And nothing successful ever is easy. I mean, that is the motto behind it. Nothing successful is easy. It's the hard work. It's the wins. It's the losses. It's the failures. It's the learning experience. It's like, I talked to Brian at an idea. It's like, hey, if we were to go back and do it all over again, it would be so much easier, because we already know where we messed up. We know where the mistakes are. We know the hidden things behind, door number 3 are, and what to expect with it. So just imagine how much more fluent and efficient you could be by knowing what you know now.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to throw at you, because I not only did I get a chance to obviously have a deep conversation with Brian several times, but I also had a good conversation with Dora Musi. And that was a great conversation, hearing it from the troops, right? The guys in the trenches that actually had to pull it off, which it was uncomfortable for, right? It was like, I don't know what he's doing with my generator. Out the door it went. And it was extremely uncomfortable. But yet today she swears by it. Had it not have been for that stick-to-itive attitude from Brian Kramer that we're doing this come heck and high water. And I know that he did. He had a lot of resistance from the team. They didn't see it. They didn't understand the vision. They didn't quite get it. But yet he moved through it. So you're doing this AI, and you're going to get the questions. You're going to get maybe in one dealership, but not in this dealership. You don't understand our customers. Our customers are different. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear, this isn't our culture. Maybe it's your other store, but it's not here. How are you going to handle all that?
It's really easy, and it's the elevator pitch behind it. It's not about what we are, who we do. It's about what are your issues at a dealership and what are you trying to solve for? And then it's letting us do what we do on our side of find the right alignment of what we can do from an AI side with what you already have in place, not as a replacement, but as a complement. It's not trying to force somebody to try to do, vehicle acquisition through a KBB ICO type of platform if they don't have the right setup and process to it. But if they do and they're looking to enhance it, we have a great solution that can really help you get better, but also help everywhere out where the issues are right now. And the issues are coming down to human capital and finding the right staff.
So here's the thing. Patrick and I talked a little bit about this before. You probably have heard about this before. Have you ever heard of the black hole?
Mm-hmm.
The black hole is the calls that go into F&I that don't get answered. And so, or in the sales department don't get answered. And I can tell you how many times customers get frustrated time and time again. And it's like either they have just simple questions with regard to their service contract they just bought. And if in the event we can't get to that customer earlier on, what do they end up doing, Jarrod? They end up canceling the product, or they're like, oh, I just got ripped off. I don't need this. I can't get anybody on the freaking phone that will answer any of my questions. So of it, right? So doesn't this support or help that black hole scenario?
AI as a holistic entity can't just complement that, but it can help assist with that. But you're going down the perfect path, which I love. So thank you for leading me down the right transition. But it's not just F&I. Think about it. It's titling. F&I is bad as well, but we all have to agree. Accounting. Sorry, Patrick's mom. Accounting is almost sometimes worse.
That's true. Where's my title? Where's my
title? Where's my check?
You got
that and a lot of the times those, to your point, Becky, those are the phone calls that are getting dropped into F&I that are going into the black hole because they're not getting routed correctly to the right person.
That's fair.
Because those should really be going to accounting and AR, but the warranty questions
always end up in the finance office.
That really need to, those are the ones that go to accounting, and the check and title questions go to F&I, and everybody's standing there pointing fingers either way, left and right. So this is the goal, to be able to complement all of these. And as AI continues to grow, adapt, and evolve, this is going to be able to help streamline every dealership's experience process for the guest.
Well, I would say so. So that would alleviate a tremendous amount of pain points in from sales to getting back in front of customers if in the event the customer didn't purchase a vehicle, from routing those calls correctly from service, sales to F&I to accounting, which is huge. That in of itself, just routing that is enough that pays for itself, if you ask me. I mean,
what about the one thing we always? What about what we always talk about, Becky, for F&I reach out of everybody who, didn't buy a warranty, but hey, let's reach back out to them and try and do just do an after sale warranty or do a pay as you go type of warranty option for those guests. We could now automate that, so we could take a look at all of your service ROs, similar process to service to sales. You could look at everybody and said, hey, you have a 17 to 19, Ford F-150, it's out of warranty, and you've just spent $800 to $1,500 out of pocket on that vehicle. We could go after those guests to upsell them an opportunity for an extended warranty, and we could do that automated and only have the people who say yes, reach out to me and tell me more, those are the ones that come to me, rather than F&I slow day having to go call those 150 customers. We'll automate it so you don't call 150, you call 25 that have already said yes.
Well, I think that after sale is really important today, more so. Well, it's always been important, but how many are really ever really successful with after sale opportunities? And it just makes more sense because there's a lot of customers, let's face it, who I don't know, for whatever reason, there may be too much pressure. They felt that there's too much coming at them all at one time. And they decide, hey, got the deer in the headlight look and I'm out. I'm not buying anything. And it's 2 weeks later and they realize, honey, that tire and wheel, whatever it was, it seems like that's the right product for us. As many freaking potholes, we managed to get into lately, or, vehicle service contract, because now we quite get the technology that's in this car that we can't even figure out all the technology that's in this car. That happens after the fact. So dealers need to think through, I think it's not just, and I'm going to borrow Steve Apicella, okay, his terminology. He's the micro moment of the menu presentation. It's before, during, and after the sale. Right. And that's where you're at. You're able to help a dealer be able to get in front of that customer after the fact, to be able to communicate, whether that be with the sales department or whether that be with the F&I manager. How do you see it? Is it either or? Does it matter? How do you guys set it up?
And one of the things, honestly, like you said, what does the after sale look like? Honestly, how many dealerships really have a fluid after sale process that actually works and brings back business? I mean, seriously. Very
Not
few,
many.
right?
Yeah.
You have very few opportunities. Well, you have a ton of opportunities, but very few people trying to actually capture those after warranty sale opportunities. Like Jarrod said, that service to sales. Hey, your vehicle's out of warranty. We don't even have, most dealers don't even have processes for that. And if they did have a process, the amount, like we were talking about, Becky, the amount of human capital that goes into it for the ROI you get from it, is it really valuable? So automating a process like that really drives that human capital element to a stratosphere to where you're really getting a return on their investment.
And I think, Becky, going back to what you were saying earlier, it's not a forced element upon them. It's fine. Going back to the drawing board, and one of the biggest questions that, Patrick and, Thomas, our regional team, are asking people, and Olivia, is what are your goals for 2023? What are your issues you're looking to solve? Everybody has them. They've done the study. It's okay. Here's what the 3 things we're going to focus on. Okay, well, let's talk through those and see how we can complement and how we can come into play. If we can, great. If not, hey, no worries, we can't solve those, but this is what we do, and this is what we can do for you if and when the time is right, and these are items you're looking to get help with.
So I think, okay, I hear a lot of good things about the potential of AI. And Patrick was kind of cool in that he was talking to me about this, and that it's a technology that learns certain language and it continues learning that language. So here's what the pros, the cons. The con is, well, or the negative side of things is that, by the way, it doesn't always recognize the voice, specific accents, like a deep Southerner, like sometimes you find in Atlanta, like,
so like the dialect
down there in Atlanta, no much fun. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying. So how does that all work? How does this recognize this voice and be able to not drop the communication? I guess you want to call it that way.
I love it. And that's a great segue question for this, because the education of AI is really the critical component. Yes. We have not done a good job as industry. People are in AI in automotive now. We have not done a good enough job educating the dealers and the consultants and even the OEMs of what all the capacity is. Because, and it's something I'm building, but in essence, you have voice AI, you have email AI, you have text message based AI components. And like, I was talking to a dealer, they're like, oh, well, yeah, you're just like Stella AI. I just signed up with them. I go, I'm nothing like Stella AI. Stella AI is pure voice AI, whereas Konect AI is pure text. So it's 2 completely different elements and components,
okay,
but it's just the education of that to the community that hasn't been done.
So it's strictly SMS, and that's what Konect AI is. There's no voice. So if they want voice, that they go to Stella.
There's Brooke,
there are
there's
others.
Stella, there's Numa, there's multiple ones that are in the space.
Yeah.
Got the chance to talk to a lot of them because they didn't know what we did and we didn't know what they did. So it's a great chance at NADA to talk through it. And it's exciting, but it's the education and the ability to help steer the direction of the dealer's goals of what they're looking for and find the right person to help them solve the goals.
So they would integrate your texting would integrate with what do you think that would really create a more robust experience for the customer in the dealership? As they're texting, is it, through chat, that sort of thing? And help us understand, or help me to understand how that component would work. Walk me through that.
So the integration actually comes directly into the CRM. So our integration is going to be with the CRM. Everything that happens in our system is pushing over and happening and showing up in the CRM in real time. So the salesperson, the managers, because one of the big things that when I was an internet director, a GSM, like one of the things I hated was somebody would say, we need this solution. And then they would say, now you have a whole other portal and tab that you have to open up and spend half your day managing. So not only did I have to manage my people, but then I had to manage all of these solutions as well to ensure everybody was using them properly. One of the things that we actually were able to do was get our integrations done so that instead of having to manage the software, we're just still managing our people and managing our CRM. Everything that happens in our system pushes to the CRM in real time. So there is no slowdown. There is
That's really
backup.
important that I know right now there's a very dear friend of mine. I don't know if he's watching right about now, but there are other text providers that is not integrated with the CRM. And I think it's really important that, we point that out.
And that's,
I know it's a big frustration for him.
Yeah. And not only is there, even if some have some integration, it's not happening in the moment that it's happening in their system. And then it doesn't recognize what you're doing. It doesn't talk back and forth. Their system may talk to the CRM, but the CRM does not talk back to their system, right? So let's say, for instance, right, because we get a lot of stuff like, oh, if you have AI, it steps on my people's toes, right? It steps on, Jarrod, his call just dropped. It steps on people's toes. Well, if our system isn't stepping on toes, then it's doing its job. So what it does is, let's say you have Becky, you put in an opportunity. Our system engages the opportunity, gets the customer either ready for a phone call or an in-store appointment. However, if somebody on your staff marks that contacted or marks in the CRM contacted, appointment set, whatever, before our system does, our system automatically shuts itself off. So the activity you do inside the CRM is going to reflect directly back into our software, so it does not step on the toes of the salespeople. Because at the end of the day, AI is great, but nothing replaces the human element. However, the humans are having a hard time engaging or being available at the time when the customer is engaging, right? So we have our salespeople. We want them to make all these phone calls and send all these emails, but they're doing it at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. They don't realize the lead came in at 2 a.m. They're not going to reach that customer at 9 a.m. And then they don't set a task to call them back at noon or at 2 o'clock or what. So then they just go, up, this customer is not answering, and they move on to the next one. So they're out looking for the low-hanging fruit that will engage with them. So why not just automate that? Automate the engagement process and serve up the actual engaged customers that said, yes, I want to talk right now. And then you don't even have to go in and call them. Our system will actually trigger the phone call to whomever the lead was assigned to in the CRM. And if they're not available, we can round robin that call to a manager, to a BDC, to a receptionist, because we don't want the engagement to be missed. A missed engagement is a missed opportunity, because most likely people are just going to go, oh, you weren't available for me, I'm moving on to the next dealer. And that's what happens.
Okay, so this actually this actually helps to impact that engagement, to get it to the next level. It's like it picks it up. It doesn't replace it at all.
No,
I think that there is a false perception that AI is going to replace that individual. when in fact there's really none of that happening. It's enhancing the overall experience and engagement sooner than later.
Right.
And I think that's, yeah.
You know, we're a technology company that is literally founded by people that worked in the car business. Everything we do is automotive dealer centered. We're not trying to replace anybody. We're trying to enhance them because we have seen through the data, we're not pulling this out of the sky. We've seen through the data that we're missing engagements just because either we don't have enough staff, we have too many leads coming in, we're not reaching out to them in a timely fashion, or we're not getting back to them because we had an inventory crunch and they sent in a lead on a car that we don't have, and then we completely forgot about it. Well, now inventory levels are returning. So what happened to all those opportunities for the last 90 days that nobody's reached out to? Nobody's going to keep reaching out to them. So we're going to continue to allow dealers to just keep throwing money out the window. Let's figure out a tool and let's figure out a way to automate the process of bringing those people we already paid for back into the fold, and then serve up the customers to the team when they're ready to talk. I mean, I look at it as one of those things where it's like we spend, and again, I spent a lot of time as an internet director. We spent 80% of our day chasing a conversation and only 20% of our day actually having one. This allows us the opportunity to flip that around, where we can only spend 20% of our day chasing a conversation and 80% of our day actually having one with people that have said, I want to talk to somebody. I mean, that's, in my mind, I wish we had something like this while I was still in retail. But I guess I'm glad we didn't, because, you know, I have the opportunity to get on the ground floor of it.
Right. So let me just say this. So really what your technology is doing is it's helping you to keep up with the engagement with that customer.
Right.
A live conversation.
Correct. Either an in-store appointment or a live conversation. If our system
or live conversation.
Yeah. Okay. If our system, and again, our system, it uses natural language processing and machine learning. So it understands content, it understands intent, and it understands sentiment. So if the customer is not leaning the conversations towards an in-store appointment, our software is going to pick that up and it's going to immediately start driving them to a phone call with a live person at the dealership. But if the customer gives our system an idea that they would just rather come in, we're going to move and push them towards an in-store appointment. And then to ensure they show up, it just comes down to the salesperson that our software scheduled that appointment for, picking up the phone, confirming it, saying hello, introducing themselves, pulling the car up front, taking a video, the same thing you would do if your BDC set the appointment. Once we've handed it off, we've set the appointment, either phone call or in store, it's time for your people to do what they do best, and that's sell the car.
Make
or set
sure
the appointment
back in front of that customer.
Correct.
Somehow, some way, right?
Yeah, we're not here to replace them. We're here to enhance them. Let's make you more efficient.
Well, I do like the idea of making sure that and I think Jarrod makes a valid point, because I will say that F&I, we get hit with everything. We get hit with service calls. We do get hit with a lot of accounting concerns. And at the end of the day, we get to the point, some of these guys are like, I'll get it later.
Or they get to the point where they go, you know what, I'm not answering it because I know it's not a call that has to do for me. I send it to accounting and they don't even answer the phone. I send it to BDC, they don't answer the phone. I do. So I get that. I get the black hole.
Sometimes F&I is the receptionist, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. But now these texts can actually be routed. You know what it kind of almost reminds, do you remember ZipWhip?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Do you remember ZipWhip? I don't know where they are in this anymore, but I remember years back that they were the cat's meow, because you could text, the customer could text and actually go to a landline, dealership landline, to be routed to the right individual.
Person, right. So, and again,
they are in that whole process.
I haven't, I haven't heard of them in years and years, but it's one of those things where it just shows you how far it's come. Right?
Yes.
So we're talking years and years and years ago. It was this, and it's very archaic. Right now, it's streamlined. No, I mean, I remember. You're not. I remember it, but it's it just shows how far it's come, and we're only at the catalyst of it. We're only at the very beginning of all this. And we've always make the joke in automotive, we're always 10 years behind technology when it comes to every other market, except right now. I think for the first time in as long as I can remember, 25 years I've been kicking around, I think for the very first time, car dealers might be on the very beginning or on the cusp of a new technology that is taking over and helping businesses grow, where we're not going to watch the real estate agents and all these other companies use it for a decade before we adapt to it. I think dealers are going, ooh, we need to get on this. And I think it's a good start.
I think you and Jarrod made a valid point. I think consultants, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff coming at us.
Yes.
Dealers have a lot of stuff coming
Yes.
at them. Agents have a lot of, still have a, they still need to catch up, but like,
you know what though?
Technology.
And I know there's a lot of people that, a lot of people in the industry, especially the people that are in dealerships still today, they know a lot of them like to poo-poo on the consultants. But I'll tell you this, I've been around consultants for a long time. A lot of them are really good friends of mine. A lot of the consultants, believe it or not, are the ones that are truly helping bring a lot of these products to market. And the reason for that is because they take the time to look through the products, learn about the competitors, learn about the pricing, and they already have the relationship with their dealers. So for them to go, hey, listen, I did all the vetting for you. This product is great. You need to look at it. And the dealer's going to do one of two things. They're either going to jump in and look at it. They're going to go, if you think it works and you think it's great, let's just do it. Well, that's a huge benefit for any, technology company in the automotive space, because they already have the trust. They already have the relationship.
Amen.
You're not an employee. You're a consultant. They pay you to consult them and help their business grow. So I love consultants. I really do. I'm not a big fan of all the trainers everywhere because they always seem like they pop up out of nowhere all the time. But there's some that have stood the test of time, such as yourself.
Thank you.
And that just goes to show, like what I said at the very beginning, it's because of your processes, your integrity, and the fact that you do everything you can to keep the dealership safe. So one of those things in that regards, we are going to do that also. Okay. So one of the questions that I get a lot, especially being that my region is South Florida or the Florida market, we have our own crazy TCPA guidelines here. Everybody got their hand smacked years ago. We have all of it cleared through OEMs, through third parties. All of that is already done and handled. We have zero TCPA compliance issues. Zero. Even here in the sunny, beautiful state of Florida.
I know.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I want dealers watching to know that, yes, TCPA is a real thing. Yes, you really can get your hand slapped for it. However, if you find the right partner that has the protections put in place ahead of time, you have no worries moving forward.
I got Stephen Wassner over here. Hey, Steve. I don't know
Hey,
if
Steve.
he's still with us, but this Steve Wassner is awesome. He is consultant, Blue Ocean, and he is going to come on next Wednesday. And we are talking we're talking about subscription services and boy, let me tell you, his and he knows his stuff and what's going on with the OEMs and that sort of thing. So dealers better be paying attention next Wednesday as well on what's happening with subscription service versus will customers continue to purchase those versus purchasing the finance products.
Ooh. I only first started hearing about subscription services because I'm a BMW person. I've been driving BMWs for ISTM. Roberta, our system is called Konect AI. If you scan the little QR code.
Let me go ahead and I will do this for you. There it is. Sorry.
If you scan my little QR code right here, you should be able to scan it. If not, at the end, I'll definitely put up our information. It's Konect, www.konect.ai. My name is Patrick O'Brien. Again, I'm the regional sales manager. I would love to speak with you. I have time, so please let me know. But no, it's like I said, it's the consultant side of it is really what's going to help us really grow these new products.
KonectAI.com?
No, it's actually just www.konect, KONECT.ai. And Becky, if you want, you could throw my cell phone number up there.
Yeah, why don't we do that? What's your cell phone?
Yeah, it's 770-880-7080. Again, you guys, please, by all means, if you want to reach out and set up something for tomorrow or later this week or early next week, because I understand we are still closing out the month in certain areas, please shoot me a text message. I would love to connect with you. You know, whenever you're free, I can shoot you my Calendly link. And again, I can show you our software in under 20 minutes. I can show you how it integrates with your CRM at literally 30 minutes, and I can show you how this product really could potentially help. And at the end of the day, it's up to you on whether or not it's a good fit for your store and your culture. We'd love to have every dealer, but not every dealer is going to be the right fit for us.
You know, you're right. That's exactly right. Not every dealer is going to be the right fit, and not every dealer is a right fit for me either.
Right.
So, they're not willing to go ahead and embrace some of the technology or integrate it into their, or have really no process to integrate it with.
And look, and I want to make sure that I'm very clear.
I'm not trying to hit hard.
I'm not hitting hard on the dealers that are not yet ready to bring technology like this into their store. Usually it's because either A, they're already doing a great job in store with their people, which bravo.
Yes, some do.
Or they're in a smaller market to where, you know, the extra cost of something like that may not be beneficial as far as the way they look at it. Now, I believe it benefits everybody. However, I understand the dealers that maybe, because again, like Jarrod said, have not been educated as to how powerful this can be in all aspects of the dealership. Let me give you one example. So we're down here in Florida, and, you know, we had the hurricanes that came through the last couple of months, you know, I mean, 2 back to back, right? We actually had a dealer client down here in Naples. They actually used it, and we were able to build out this forum. They actually used it to stay in touch during hurricane relief with their employees. So they actually were able to use this internally with their employees to ensure that everybody was safe while they were moving through taking care of their homes and their families and everything like that. So there's so many applications that this can be used that necessarily isn't where we would just think of it to be used. Again, I would have never thought to use it as a way for me and my team to communicate and to have AI answer the questions that they would ask. And then if our AI couldn't answer the question, it says, press 1 to connect with the general manager for immediate help. You know what I mean? Like, we were able to help this store through this hurricane stay connected with everybody at work to ensure everybody was safe. I mean, I know that sounds kind of silly, but that's how far this application can take you if you have the imagination to do it.
Yeah. And you got to, one of the things, again, I'm trying to say this the best way. It's still a process.
Yeah.
It's still integrate. It's
Yes.
got to be a part of that process, or
Yes.
otherwise, if it becomes a workaround, it's not going to be work.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I often, how many times has it been? And dealers have taken on and have gotten the best technology, the brightest, the best, it's awesome. And yet it just sits.
Yep.
It's not bad technology. It just sits. Nobody does anything with it. So
that's
kind of where I was going with.
But again, it goes back to what I was saying. A lot of times we have managers, the sales managers, BDC managers, salespeople, internet directors, whomever, who are not involved in the decision-making process of these tools that are coming on board, which I understand. They don't write the checks. I get that. However, then we go, here you go. Here's a whole new portal you need to manage. Oh, and by the way, you need to manage all the salespeople doing it. We've eliminated that. Now, can they get in our portal? Yes. Can they take over conversations? Yes. But they don't have to, because they don't want to at the end of the day. They don't want to.
Yeah. So is Jarrod like Amy Shelton is wanted to know what happened to Jarrod? Is he gone completely?
No. So all right. So Jarrod, again, he's like he mentioned, he's got 4 daughters. He's driving to Miami. His girls have a cheer competition, and he was just pulling up to that. So he had to, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'm glad he was able to join because he answered the questions honestly, and I'm one of the first people that'll tell you, if I don't have the answer to the question, I'm glad we had Jarrod on board so that he could answer those questions immediately for the dealers, the consultants, and everybody else who's watching today to ensure that there's no second guessing about it. You know, I wish
I'm
Paul
sure
could have
that
been
there's
here,
going to be
but
some questions too.
of
But I'm
course.
glad that we really stressed that there's no voice activation here going on. I had this conversation the other day, and maybe that's kind of what was sticking in my head. And maybe it was Stella. I don't remember, but all I know was, oh, this is all good and dandy, but you know, it's this AI doesn't recognize certain languages, things like that, which is really good to point this out, that there's no language, there's no voice activation going on here, that it's all text. So I think that this is kind of a critical component to what you're doing.
And you know what's really cool? So let's say, so we actually have, and I know this sounds trivial, but we have a weird setting in the back end of our system, right? You can go in and set it this way or the other way. And again, it's just a small thing, but you could set it to like a professional setting or a slang setting, or to understand the difference between the two, right? So if the customer starts using you instead of YOU, y'all instead of you are, starts using emojis instead, our system's going to pick that up and it's going to respond that way with the customer.
That's really cool.
Now, if the customer is using proper English and punctuation and things like that, our system's going to pick that up and it's going to deliver the messages back to them. It understands content, intent, and sentiment, and it is not a trigger-based system. So the customer doesn't have to say something specific to trigger a response.
So, so how do we, okay, so to Roberta, well, I'm not sure if it was Roberta who said this or not. One Facebook user, I'm in no position to sign up, but I would like to see the demo. Of course, right?
Absolutely. 100%. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, the person in the store who's going to be, you know, in the system, or the system's going to be working and enhancing, if they're an advocate of it, it's easy to get the general manager, the person that does make the decision, on the phone and online. Hey, look, I already talked to your internet director. They see tremendous value in it. I'd love 15, 20 minutes of your time to see if you guys see the same thing. 95% of the time, the internet director, if they're willing to take a demo, it's because they're holding the keys to the general manager. You're not getting to the general manager if the internet director hates your product.
So let's kind of talk through that for just a moment. Okay, so these leads are going in directly into a CRM.
Yes.
Not like another tech company that I'm aware of, what I'm not going to talk about. But anyway, outside of the CRM, this is going directly into that CRM to be able to manage appropriately.
Yes.
To a either dedicated BDC or and then, you know, let's talk about when a customer submits a credit application. Sometimes that is reviewed by BDC, could be reviewed by the desk. Sometimes maybe the F&I person sometimes is reviewing the application. They check it in the morning, what's been submitted overnight that they may submit or have additional questions. How do you see that coming together?
Well, and again, it goes back to your conversation or our conversation a lot through this, and it's process, okay? It's process. If they have a process or they don't have a process about handling those credit applications and how they want that to progress through, let us know. We can help you create it. If you want to automate that process from application to whomever it's supposed to go to and ensure that they're handled correctly, let's talk about it. We don't have it set up yet, but I would love to get somebody's input, and let's figure out the process that works for your store. We can automate just about anything you can come up with. We have 50 million records that our machine is learning off of on a daily basis.
So if I hear you correctly, Patrick, this is what you just said to Becky. You said, if I have maybe a store or two that is willing to go ahead and pilot it and kind of figure out the best process to go about this, this is something that you would work with us on.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
You heard it, guys. You heard
1,000%. I would love the opportunity, Becky. Becky, I've been saying this a long time. I've always said for years and years and years and years and years, I said the first, whoever can figure out to automate portions of F&I, they are going to absolutely smoke everybody else because nobody's figured it out yet, because everybody's afraid that if they take the human element out of it, they're going to miss gross. However, what's happening is we're injecting the human element into so many small, minuscule areas that it's taking time away from our finance managers doing what they do best. And that's sitting with a customer, presenting a menu, and showing the value in the products they're selling in the F&I office.
God, we trained you good.
Because they're busy answering, where's my title questions?
Or, hey, you have customers hanging out, at the front of the dealership or the front of the F&I office and going, I have a question. Something got missed along the way. Registration titles, like you said. How many times has that happened?
Yeah.
A lot, right? And it's about, here I am trying to focus with my customer and get into this menu presentation. And I got this other customer breathing down my neck because something wasn't.
Their payoff wasn't sent on time. They haven't gotten their title. They went to the tag office and it wasn't ready yet. All these different things. None of those questions end up in the accounting office.
Well, let me tell you what I'm going to do with you, Patrick. I am going to go ahead and we are going to put this together. We are going to partner. We are going to pilot. We are going to figure this out because, first of all, I'm going to say something. You are one talented car guy.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
Look, you really are.
Listen, I'm nothing more than a 10th grade high school dropout that saw the vision of the car business because my grandfather, who was an immigrant, my father, who was an immigrant, who had very little education to back them. They just had a hard work ethic and they had the drive to succeed. And the car business gave them that opportunity to really provide for not only their families, but then generationally down the line, as my entire family's in the car business. So I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful that I was given an opportunity, even though I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't study well when it comes to taking tests. I was very, very blessed that I was able to study my father and my mother from 5 years old all the way through my life. And I knew before I even went to kindergarten what I wanted to do with my life. And now it's coming full circle because I get to stay in automotive, which I love so much. But now at 40, a new dad with 2 twin boys that are only a month old, my daughter being 15 months old, this gives me the opportunity to continue to do and work in the industry I love, but not have to be, 70, 80 hours a week, because that's the kind of manager I was. I was at the store I didn't care what time I was supposed to be there. I got there at 8:30. And when the last customer left, that's when I walked out. If it was Sunday and we looked like we might be busy, I was there, and I want all the dealers.
Tears right here.
Yeah. I mean, you saw me from some of my humbler beginnings in that small little dirt lot right there in Marietta Square. So I've come a long way, and really I've come a long way, and I've made the leaps and bounds that I've had because of the relationships such as yourself, Jim Ziegler, Jarrod Kilway, Brian Kramer, these guys that have really supported and women that have supported not only me in what I'm doing when I was in retail, but now also as I'm moving on to this vendor side. Because Becky, let me be honest, never been a vendor before. So I'm trying to figure this out as I go.
And then you're doing the vendor and you're into a product that you really see a huge
and I'm excited about it.
Opportunity with, and so do I. So I'm here, Patrick, to help you out. And I think that I might know a few people that might be able to help you out along the way because that's what we do. We all help each other out. And I'm buying into it. I'm going to throw Patrick.
I'm going to throw something out. I'll beg for forgiveness tomorrow. All right. Instead of ask for permission tonight.
Because you're new to this.
I'm going to beg for forgiveness tomorrow and ask for permission tonight. I am going to extend our NADA deal, but I'm going to do a little bit better. You call me tomorrow or text me tonight or tomorrow, and I'm going to give you a deal that it doesn't exist right now only because you tuned into this show. I'm going to give you the full suite of our products, but you have to call me directly, and I'm going to give it to you at our NADA price, which is already gone. Okay, which is about 25%, 50% cheaper than what we normally charge. So if you watch this show, I want people that want to get on demos this week.
Is there like a date, like an expiration?
Yes. By the end, February 7th, if I have not demoed you by February 7th, the deal is off. And I'm only doing this so that I can show you how much this product works and how much I believe in it. I'll give you something to wet your palate.
Well,
Because honestly,
we'll be on that demo before the 7th. I'm
yes,
telling you
and
that, right?
honestly,
I know I will be.
after the first 30 days, and you notice how many phone calls that we're driving to your staff and how much more engaged your customers are and how much more engaged your staff is with the opportunities coming in, I'm not going to just be a line on your balance sheet. I'm going to be a permanent mark, because that's what our goal is. I'm not